Hey there, glad you made it. Tonight's story isn't about kings or heroes. It's about someone quieter, someone ordinary, someone like you. You're going to spend your last night in Pompeii, walking the city, hearing its sounds, feeling the calm before history changes everything. But not yet. Tonight. It's still just dusk. If stories like this help you rest, feel free to like and subscribe. And if you're still awake, let me know what time it is and where you're listening from. It's always strangely comforting to see how many of us are falling asleep to the same quiet place. So dim, the lights. Turn on a fan if you like that soft background hum. Get comfortable. And we'll begin. You are no longer here. You are a Roman soldier. Your armor is scratched, your sandals dusty. The city around you is breathing its last, though no one knows it yet. Pompeii is quiet. The sky is clear. The evening feels like any other. You walk the streets as night settles in. You begin along the Via dell'Abbondanza, Pompeii's lifeline. It stretches east to west, paved in basalt stones worn smooth from decades of carts and sandals. Each stone remembers someone. As your foot lands, you walk the ghosts of vendors, children, priests, thieves, lovers. It is a road of echoes. On your left, a fresco peels from the wall of a wine tavern. A grinning Bacchus raises a goblet, purple-stained lips smeared with age. You tap the painted stone gently. It flakes under your glove. A vendor nearby rearranges trays of lentils. He hums a tune from Etruria. You nod to him. He responds without looking, fingers deep in barley. You pause before the house of the faun. Its doorway stands open, as always. Inside, the bronze statue dances in the impluvium basin, arms out, legs bent, weightless and eternal movement. You've seen it 100 times, but tonight the curve of the figure feels sad. You do not enter. You listen to the soft drip of water instead. The scent of fresh fish clings to the alley near the Macellum. Flies hover above a table of salted mackerel. A woman in a red stola scolds a boy for swatting at them with a scroll. Her words are sharp, but her eyes laugh. You move on. The bakery across the way is closing. Round loaves rest in neat stacks near the oven. You watch a man sweep flour into a corner. The embers glow orange, casting dancing shadows on the walls. He coughs once, wipes his nose, and waves at you through the haze, toward the Forum now. You pass a statue of Eumacia. She looms tall above her portico, shawl pulled tight, eyes blank. A young girl kneels at the base, lighting a tiny oil lamp. Her fingers fumble. The flame catches. She whispers a prayer, maybe for love, maybe for bread. A temple bell tolls the hour. In the basilica, a magistrate reads over scrolls by lamplight. He chews fennel seeds absently, lips moving as he counts columns. You stop behind him. He does not turn. He's lost in tax records or court cases. You've seen him before. He never looks up. The air shifts subtly. Somewhere above, a tile slips loose and clinks down a roof. A dog barks in reply. Then silence again. You head toward the Garden of the Fugitives. Not many patrol this far, but you've always liked the space. Its rows of vines are tidy. Flowers bloom in small pots, geranium, hyacinth, fig. At the far end, a gardener dozes with a rake across his lap. His straw hat covers his face. You watch his chest rise and fall. In the distance, Mount Vesuvius looms, its outline sharp against a sky that is now pale gold. Smoke curls faintly from its peak. A line thin as thread. You stare at it for a long time. You remember the tremors last night. The oil lamp swayed. The water jug rattled. Nothing broke. The others laughed. Said the gods were stirring. You pass a launderer's shop. Steam seeps from a rear window. A woman stirs a pot of lye with a wooden stick. She sings a nursery rhyme you haven't heard in years. You don't remember the words, only the tune. You reach the amphitheater. It is empty now. Earlier today, 2 gladiators fought there. One was injured. You heard he survived. The arena sands are raked flat again, smooth as parchment. Blood dries invisibly under moonlight. A shadow flickers. You look up. A torch gutters in the breeze. You climb the stone steps slowly. At the top you sit. Below, the city stretches. A sea of roofs, chimneys smoke. Distant voices murmur. Somewhere, someone is crying softly. You stay a long while. Eventually, you rise and move back into the streets. A group of girls passes, carrying baskets of bread. One drops a roll. You pick it up and hand it to her. She thanks you without smiling. The suburban baths glow with lamplight. From inside, you hear laughter. Men's voices echo from the caldarium. Steam escapes beneath the doors. The scent of cedar oil floats out. You walk past, unwilling to join. Instead, you pause near a mural. It shows Hercules wrestling a lion. His muscles are overdrawn, his face serene. The paint is chipped, but his strength is clear. You remember your training, how your centurion screamed until your throat bled, how your arms ached from shield drills, how you buried your friend in Gaul. You exhale slowly. A cart rolls past. It's filled with straw and jugs. The driver nods, then spits into the road. You approach a villa near the edge of town. It belongs to a senator rich, untouchable. His guards eye you, but do not speak. Inside, candles flicker against marble. You see a girl on a balcony braiding her hair by moonlight. You keep walking, and now the stars arrive. Pinpricks at first, then whole swaths of them. You look up. Orion rises. You trace the line of his belt. Your mother once told you a story about him. You've forgotten it. The streets are empty now. You pass the barracks, but do not enter. Instead, you head for the edge of town, toward the fields, toward silence. There, in a grove of olive trees, you sit, you listen, you breathe. The ground is still, the wind is warm, Pompeii sleeps, and you still awake wait for something you can't name. The marketplace smells different at dusk. Gone are the crisp perfumes of citrus and the sharp tang of raw fish. Now there's something deeper, an earthy blend of old fruit, sun-warmed stone, and the faintest hint of wood smoke. You walk beneath the creaking awnings, their canvas worn and patched, the kind of wear that tells time without needing a calendar. The stalls are thinning out. Vendors move slowly now. The rush is gone, replaced by tired repetition. You pass a cart where grapes have been picked over, leaving only crushed stems and fruit too soft to sell. A boy rearranges a stack of lentils, not because he expects to sell them, but because his father told him to. Behind him, a donkey chews idly on fig leaves tied with string. No urgency, no purpose, just the rhythm of ending. Nearby, an old woman stacks clay dishes in uneven towers, muttering to herself in Oscan. Her hand shakes slightly as she tucks a chipped bowl under her arm and reaches for another. You watch her for a while. She reminds you of someone, but from where you can't place. Maybe from childhood, maybe from a dream. A few steps away, a thermopolium is shutting down. The hearth is still glowing, a low orange pulse. The woman who owns it ladles out one last scoop of stew for a beggar slouched near the wall. She doesn't speak. She just places the bowl in front of him and returns to wiping her counters, as if generosity is part of the daily cleanup. From somewhere deeper in the alley, a stringed instrument plays not loud, but persistent. A lyre played by a man seated cross-legged on a cloth. He has no audience, only the crickets. and the lazy flicker of lamp flames, you toss a coin into his bowl. He nods without looking up, fingers still moving over strings that have gone slightly out of tune. You don't mind. The melody isn't for perfection, it's for atmosphere. And atmosphere tonight is all there is. A fishmonger nearby is draining the last of his melted ice. Water spills from his cart into the gutter and flows past your feet. He lifts a large snapper, still slick and silver, and tosses it into a wooden crate with a tired grunt. His apron is stained, his shoulders heavy. He will be back tomorrow, and the day after that, until he isn't. Further down, a couple argues over a bolt of cloth. Blue linen. Too expensive, she says. Not dyed properly. He shrugs. It will do, he replies. It's only for a wedding. They settle on it without resolving the argument. That's how some love looks here, not warm, not poetic, just practiced and stubborn. The kind that gets things done. Smoke begins to rise from the edges of the city. Cooking fires are being lit in narrow courtyards. You catch scents of spiced lentils, leeks sautéed in oil, burnt garlic. Your stomach tightens. You realize you haven't eaten since midday, but there's no rush to fix that. Hunger is a quiet thing tonight, folded beneath the stillness that settles over everything. A group of children are stacking discarded crates to build a fort near the fountain. One slips, crashes through a stack, and lands in the dust. He laughs, despite the fall. The others cheer. You remember what that felt like to be unbreakable. One of the children looks at you as you pass. He nods, solemnly. You nod back as if he were your commanding officer. He seems satisfied with that and returns to his fortress. Lanterns are being lit now, one by one. Their glow is soft, amber-hued, casting long ripples of light that seem to sway with the breeze. You can hear the snapping of wicks, the quiet murmurs of prayer as someone lights a flame in honor of Vesta, goddess of the hearth. These rituals aren't loud. They're gentle, domestic, the kind of worship that lives in the hands more than the mouth. A potter is loading unsold jars into a cart. His son hands them to him, one by one, careful not to clink them together. Each one carries hours of labor. Each one now will be stored and maybe forgotten. He yawns as he works. His father says nothing. The silence between them is full, not empty. A type of love only visible in repetition. The sun has now dipped fully behind the mountains. The shadows no longer stretch. They envelop. The color drains from the sky until all that's left is smoke and silver. The torches do their best to hold it back, but they're too few and too far between. You rely more on your memory of the street than your eyes now. A fruit seller approaches her final pass-counting coins. She lays them out on a cloth, sorting by size and weight. She mutters the amounts as she goes. When she finishes, she exhales through her nose, ties the cloth shut, and stashes it under a loose stone in her stall. Her husband is asleep already, curled up beneath a faded wool cloak. She does not wake him. You turn to leave the square. Behind you, a broom scrapes against stone. A curtain is drawn. A final door closes. It's as if the market itself exhales and begins to dream. You've left the marketplace behind. The bustle is gone now, replaced with something quieter, an openness you can feel in your chest. The streets thin as you move eastward, away from the heart of the city. Homes become more spaced out. Walls are lower, shadows longer. Out here, the air feels different. Not colder, but more exposed. You walk slowly. Not out of hesitation, but out of reverence. The path ahead leads to the fields, and beyond that to the mountain. Mount Vesuvius looms in the distance. Not menacing, not yet. It stands like it always does, tall, dark, gently smoking. A familiar presence. The kind that doesn't draw fear, only respect. The citizens of Pompeii have lived in its shadow for generations. It's been quiet for centuries. Farmers plow beneath its slopes. Goats graze near its base. It is not a monster. It is a landmark. But still, tonight it feels closer. The path takes you past olive groves, neat rows stretching out like lines in a poem. The trees twist and bend, their bark gnarled with age, their leaves whispering softly in the evening wind. You brush one with your hand. It feels alive. Not like a tree, but like a witness. Each one has seen decades of sunrises. And now, tonight, they seem to be holding their breath. You pass a shepherd leading a small flock toward a walled enclosure. He raises a hand in greeting, doesn't stop. His sheep move in unison, silent, but for the occasional soft bleat. One of them limps slightly. The shepherd doesn't rush. He walks like a man who knows this land well, and knows better than to hurry when the night begins to speak. The road begins to climb now, just a little, enough to change the sound of your steps. The stones underfoot shift slightly. Loose pebbles crunch. You stop for a moment just to listen. There's no one here. No dogs barking, no carts rattling, just wind, and the distant creak of branches swaying. Above you, the mountain smolders faintly. A thin ribbon of smoke curls skyward, elegant, slow, almost lazy. It doesn't scare you, but it does make you think. You remember the tremors 2 nights ago, just enough to knock a jug from a shelf, enough to make the horses whinny in the stable, enough to make you wake with your hand on your sword. The ground beneath your feet feels solid now, but you're listening for something deeper, a rumble, maybe, or silence that's too complete. You shake the thought. It's just superstition. The mountain is part of life here. It always has been. You come to a ridge that overlooks the city. From here you can see the rooftops of Pompeii, lit by 1,000 flickering lamps. Smoke rises from kitchens, tiny threads weaving into the night sky. The city looks peaceful, almost too peaceful, like a painting that no longer moves. You feel for a moment outside of it all, like you're standing in the space between 2 breaths. A small shrine sits nearby, tucked into the curve of the hill. A worn statue of Vulcan, god of fire and forge, stands inside. Someone has left a loaf of bread and a dried laurel branch at the base. You kneel not out of obligation, but out of habit. Your fingers trace the line of the offering. It's stale. Maybe it left yesterday, maybe the day before. You look up at the statue's face. It's weathered. The nose is chipped, but the eyes, they seem focused on the mountain. You stand and continue on. The sky above you is dark, now fully committed to night. Stars scatter across it like ash on water. You spot Jupiter, then Mars. The constellations seem unfamiliar, as if the mountain has pulled the sky slightly off balance. A fox darts across your path. You freeze. It looks at you for a moment, ears alert, eyes shining. Then it disappears into the brush. Its silence lingers. The climb becomes steeper, just slightly. You're close now. You can smell the change in the air. Less earth, more mineral. A kind of sharpness that makes your nose twitch. The grass here is sparse, the ground dry and cracked. A lizard scurries across a stone, vanishing into a crevice before you can react. You reach a flat outcrop, a lookout point, carved by time and footsteps. People have stood here before. Lovers, soldiers, farmers, maybe even gods if the old stories are to be believed. You step to the edge, look up. Mount Vesuvius is there, immense. Still, its peak blurred slightly by the drifting veil of smoke. It doesn't roar, it doesn't shake, it simply waits. You feel it in your bones now. Not fear. Not yet. But awareness. Like your body knows something your mind won't say out loud. You sit on a flat stone and let your hand rest on the ground. It's cool, but not cold. You listen to the wind, to the rustle of your tunic, to the sound of your own breath. For a moment, everything is silent, even your thoughts. The mountain watches, and you watch it back. The sky dims not with twilight, but with something heavier. You first notice it as a dryness in your throat. The breeze that once cooled your armor now carries weight, as though the wind itself is growing tired. At first, it's hard to tell what's changed. The streets still look familiar. The evening still hums softly in the distance. But your instincts, sharpened by years of drills, wars, and watchful nights, whispers something quieter. This calm isn't natural. You pause, glance at your forearm, and there it is, a fleck of white, too soft to be dust, too real to be ignored. You look up. The sky is no longer just sky. A veil has crept in soft, dry, slow. Pale specks drift lazily through the thickening air. You reach for one. It lands on your palm, feather-light, pumice, cool, brittle, hollow. You rub it between your fingers, and it turns to powder. Another lands on your shoulder, then another. The city is being dusted in silence. No cries, no orders, just the steady fall of time itself. You resume your walk. Each step now leaves a clearer imprint in the ash-softening ground. The corners of the buildings wear powdered edges. Statues once polished stand like ghosts, covered in a fine white coat. In the square, a fruit vendor leans against his cart, eyes squinting at the sky. His goods, olives, figs, dried dates, are slowly being buried. He doesn't move. He just watches. You pass without a word. What is there to say? Further ahead, a fountain continues its gentle trickle. You pause beside it. The water is darker now ash, swirling in spirals, collecting at the edges. A small boy crouches nearby, holding his breath as he skims the surface with a stick. His mother calls from behind a curtain. He doesn't answer. You nod at him. He nods back, not out of courtesy, but recognition that something is happening, and nobody really knows what. You continue on, and the buildings seem to lean inward. Not physically, not yet, but visually. The sky is closing in. More ash falls, thicker now. Your cloak carries it like snow. You wipe your eyes, blink, and still your vision swims with floating grit. The lamps struggle to pierce the dusted air. A shadow crosses your path, a dog, ribs visible, coat turned silver with pumice. It trots without direction, stops, then turns around. It does not bark. It does not whimper. It simply disappears. The street narrows as you enter a familiar stretch near the Thermopolia. The scent of spiced stew is gone. What lingers now is the smell of burned resin, damp wool, and something older earth, cracked and deep. The vendors are long gone. Clay jars line the stalls, each rim filled with chalky white. You step over a fallen amphora, careful not to slip. A door bangs open in the wind, then closes again. No one is inside. You glance up toward Vesuvius. You can barely see it anymore. Just the faintest orange glow beyond the smoke, pulsing like a slow heartbeat behind gauze. Occasionally, flashes of light arc through the dark, not lightning from above, but fire from within. The mountain isn't erupting, it's unraveling. You feel the first tremor underfoot, a slight buckle in the earth, subtle but undeniable. You stop moving. The lantern at your hip swings. A piece of roof tile clatters to the street behind you. You glance back, dust rises where it landed, and then nothing. You pass under a colonnade. The once sturdy columns now resemble candle wax-softened outlines under thick ash. A statue of Minerva holds her spear forward still, but her face is smoothed over. You wonder if she sees anything anymore. As you walk, voices grow scarce. The air is thicker now. You adjust your cloak across your mouth. You hear coughing from behind a doorway. A man stumbles out, dragging a sack behind him. He makes it halfway across the street before collapsing to one knee. You reach for him, but someone pulls him away. A family, maybe. You move on. By now, the ash reaches the tops of your sandals. Each step carries resistance. You pass by what was once a painted wall scenes of a wedding, a feast. Now only vague shapes remain. The red has turned gray. The joy has been muted. You approach a garden you've walked through countless times. There was a bench there, under an olive tree. You used to sit there on warm evenings. Tonight, the bench is gone. The tree's limbs sag, powdered and limp. A jug of water still sits at the base of the trunk. You pick it up, it's half full. You pour a little on your wrist. The water stings chilled from the ash, sour and scent. You let it go and keep walking. Your thoughts are slowing, like the city itself. You no longer try to make sense of anything. The world is shrinking, vanishing under a white tide. The temples loom above you now, but they too are smaller, somehow less eternal, more mortal. The weight of everything presses downward, not fear, not sadness, just gravity. You round the final bend toward the barracks. The gate is open. Ash drifts through the frame like fog. Inside, shapes move slowly, soldiers, or what's left of them. One rises to greet you. His face is streaked white. You don't recognize him, though you've likely shared wine once. He gestures you in. Inside the barracks, the world is quieter. A few torches burn low. The rest is dark. You find a place near the wall. You remove your helmet. Set it beside you. You sit. Around you, others do the same. No words, no prayers, just breath. Slow, shallow breath. From outside, a low roar echoes a final warning. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just the mountain clearing its throat. You don't know. You close your eyes. The last image you see is not the city, not the mountain, not the sky, but your own hands. Covered in ash, still, steady. You breathe again. Let the weight of the air rest on your shoulders. The night is not over, but for Pompeii, it is ending. You enter the barracks courtyard under a blanket of falling ash, the world outside pressing in like a memory, but you remain seated, helmet removed, breath shallow, heart still. The air is heavy, as if the dust itself carries weight. You wipe ash from your tunic, from your arms, from your chest armor, revealing faint traces of sweat. The torchlight flickers across stone walls now glazed in gray. You rise slowly, limbs stiff, and step inside the long hall, where other soldiers, once strong, now silent, begin to gather. No orders, no commands, just soft movements and the rustling of cloaks. Inside, the room is dimly lit by a few low-burning torches. Ash drifts in through open windows, coating the floor in gentle snow. Everywhere you look, faces are turned downward. Some wear the hollow look of sleep, others stare blankly, as if waiting for a memory to return. A mother clutches her child at one end of the hall, whispering lullabies that dissolve into the ash-strewn hush. A man sits near a window, head resting against stone, shoulder rising with slow breath. Beside him, a dog lies curled in dust, whiskers bristled. None of them move quickly. Time itself feels slow, stretched thin by the endless floating particles. You stand near an iron bowl holding embers. The red glow is faint but steady, the only warmth in the space. You watch the sparks rise, then extinguish. You want to add more wood, but you're tired of moving. Instead, you sit cross-legged on the floor, dust in your hair, ash in your lap. Your fingers trace the engraving on the stone beneath you, once carved by a local artisan, now nearly unreadable. You close your eyes, and the crackle of embers becomes the crackle of roofs overhead. But inside, all is still. The silence is thick, but not oppressive. It carries weight. You can feel it in each breath, in the beat of your heart. It reminds you of nights spent alone after drills, after battles, waiting for permission to rest. Except tonight, the silence is shared. You realize you're not alone. All around you, figures settle into chairs, benches, doorways. People breathe into silence, into loss, into the unknown. You remember childhood nights in your homeland outside Rome-warm breezes under cypress trees, lullabies sung by your mother. That memory drifts to the forefront suddenly, her hands brushing yours as she tucked in your blanket. You breathe in the image, let it fade, then let it dissolve further. A sudden shift. The air vibrates slightly, a tremor. Yes, but not violent. More like a sigh. Around you, people flinch, but no one moves. The embers glow brighter, as if responding to the pulse. A soldier nearby unwraps a small cloth inside, a fragment of sycamore bread. He breaks a piece and holds it out to a child. The dust disperses where his hand passes. You taste the dry bread in your mind and realize you haven't eaten. Not yet. You rise and move toward the door. Outside, ash dances in lamplight, drifting upward like drifting feathers. The courtyard is empty, but you walk along its edge, parting ash to reveal old carvings and stone names, dates, images. You press your palm to one of them, the rough edge of a name scratched decades ago. You close your fingers around it, imprinting it in your palm. Back inside, a soft chat begins. A priest or man who has become one by necessity quietly intones a ritual for Fortuna and Vesta, names murmured under breath. The sound is calming, ritualistic, human. Others bow their heads, some kneel. You stand still, but your eyes close. The chant becomes a lullaby. The embers respond, flickering slower. The world outside may be collapsing, but here in this hall, there is structure. There is care. There is small sanctuary carved by shared breath. You sit again, dust falling in lazy lines from the rafters. A candle snuffs out. Then another. Darkness begins to gather at the edges of vision. Yet the chant continues. Each verse holds a name, a plea, a memory. You feel your body lighten, though your posture remains still. The weight in your lungs shifts. You remember soldiers lost in campaigns years ago, companions lost in more brutal tragedies. Yet here, in this shared hush, you find kinship not in war, but in waiting, in bearing stillness together. One by one, people lie down. Even the dog curls tighter. You notice that no one moves to push them away. They gather where they can. Dust settles on tucked arms. The embers die slowly. The chant stops after a long stretch. Silence returns, but it feels different, softer, less raw. You breathe and feel the ash around you shift with the quiet. A lantern flickers uncertainly. You blink, someone hums a tune you don't recognize. It falters, then fades. You lean against a stone pillar, close your eyes again. You feel the coldness of the floor beneath your thigh. You hear your own heartbeat. You feel the weight of ash in your lungs. And you think they will wake, but not now. In the lull that follows, you drift. Time loosens. The hall's walls fade. You feel the mountain, its breath, its heat, its final voice thrum below. But inside this room, in this collective stillness, you rest. For tomorrow, maybe the city will still exist. Maybe not. Tonight you have only hum of memory, weight of dust, and the company of those who wait with you. You take your last breath in the silence. You exhale. And sleep. You wake to heat not in your body, but in the air, a suffocating pulse that presses into every breath. Around you, the barracks trembles faintly, as though exhaling. You sit upright, limbs stiff, dust adhering to every hair. The hall is dim. The torches gutter in slow circles of light. Figures shift quietly in the darkness. One stretches an arm to steady himself. A child squirms awake. A soldier rubs a dusty helmet. The dog that lay curled near the door is gone. You stand, your breath tastes like burnt earth. You step outside. The courtyard is not a courtyard anymore, just stone buried beneath ankle-deep ash. The sky glows with unnatural orange flame, a collapsing sun above an angry mountain. Vesuvius roars, a sound below the earth. You feel the ground pulse with it. Your feet hang heavy as you walk, no longer light, but weighted by awareness of what's to come. At the gate, a soldier limps forward, one arm wrapped in cloth, face streaked with gray soot. He nods once. His eyes are unreadable. You pass him wordlessly into the plume. The world shrinks to ash falling around you. Roof edges crack. Walls tilt. You pass a villa you once visited. Its front door is splintered open, revealing halls of dust-coated finery. The painted frescoes inside are ruined figures melting into gray strokes, dust filling cracks between tiles. You remember walking this street last summer, wine cellars calling, fresco artists at work, children chasing hoops under a summer sun. Now the street stutters beneath you. No racket, no voices, only falling ash marking time. At the Temple of Jupiter, stones shift under pressure. The statue is intact, his face calm, but cracks spider like veins across his chest. Beneath him you see footprints made hours ago in firmer stone. You stop, trace them with one finger. They lead away. You close your eyes and remember steps of soldiers long gone. The weight of centuries presses in. A lull, and then another tremor, this one louder. Your legs buckle. You steady yourself against a wall. The building behind you groans. You almost falter, but don't stop. Carefully you push forward. Every street corner brings new ruin-collapsed walls, tiled roofs collapsed into rubble fields, columns splintered like broken promises. You come to a raised square where fountains once stood. Their bowls are shattered. You recognize the tiles beneath, colored like water, long silent. Ash drifts into the broken pores, layering thick. You kneel and lift a shard of tile. It's warm. You press it to your cheek. It imprints faintly, half color, half memory. From behind you hear it, the mountain's voice. A rain of boulders, a rumble of gas, a howl of wind at ground level. It isn't a roar, it is something older, more primal. The earth itself growing slippery, ready to slide. You loosen your cloak and wrap it around your mouth. The air stings. You breathe shallow now, one measured breath at a time. The streets end. Ahead, there's only open ash plains sloping toward the mountain's base. You see other shapes, figures limping, some collapsing. A mother helps a child step carefully. A man lifts a plank to block his mouth. No one races. No one screams. Only running where they must, then kneeling to rest. You slow, step off the beaten path into what was once a garden district. You come upon a vine-swathed courtyard, now crumbled. Terracotta statues lean over collapsed walls. A small pond lies stagnant. You step beside it and brush the surface ash-laden, opaque. You imagine the water this morning clear, ripples, coin fountains, thirsty birds. Now only twilight remains. A memory surfaces, your sister handing you a cup of water after training. Then a memory of your first cold campfire in Gaul. You swallow. The taste of ash coats your tongue. You rise and move onward toward the city gate. You enter under a stone arch, the stones shaking, dust falling like snow from above. Beyond the gate, the mountain looms closer now. Flames pulse through smoke. Thunder cracks in slow crescendos. Each step forward feels like betrayal and necessity. By the outer wall, you find a small group huddled beneath half a roof. The ash is waist deep. Flames flicker behind them through haze houses collapsing again in layers. You tilt your head to block the vision, but can't unsee it. You stand next to a young soldier holding his breath. You both exhale at the same time, not asking for permission. You don't need to. A lull again, as though sobriety itself is landing. You look up. The sky is blotched red and gray. The mountain spits molten stone at times, or you think you see it. The glow is electric. The roar beneath your feet shakes the ground again. You breathe. You continue. You pass near a mortar bed where herbs were once grown clean and bright now, buried under thick gray sludge. You step trough it. It gives under your foot. You taste earth again. Not ash, but older dirt. Ancient dust. You reach a final intersection. Beyond it is only gray haze. No exit, no path. You hesitate, and then, because your own life still instructs you, you step across into the haze. Not running. Not looking back. Your cloak pulls with the wind. You shield your face. No embers. Just ash and smoke and nothing else. Then silence. Then cold. You collapse. Not from panic, from release. Your final breath tastes of ash and memory. Your eyelids fall closed. You feel the earth shift once more beneath you. No pain. Only surrender. And in that surrender, there is calm. You exhale. And sleep. You are still here, somehow. Beneath the weight of a collapsed city, under stone and time and silence, you remain. Not standing, not moving, but present. It is not the kind of presence that demands attention. It's the kind that hums quietly, the way roots hum beneath soil. Your body is still, half buried in warm ash, cradled by the shattered bones of the city. The barracks above have crumbled into heavy ruin. The walls no longer whisper their stories, but yours continues. You do not know how long you've been lying here. A few minutes? An hour? The sun might have risen and fallen again. Time doesn't belong to this place anymore. It drips, it curls, it folds in on itself. The ash keeps falling, though more slowly now. The way snow falls in dreams, soundless, eternal. With each breath, your lungs fill with heat and dust, and still you breathe. That simple act makes you dangerous to the silence. A defiance. A vow. You begin to remember, not because you want to, but because memory is all that is left. There is no city to look at, no people to speak to, no duty to carry out. So you walk back into yourself. The first memory comes like a whisper, the weight of a spear against your shoulder during morning drills, the sting of sunburn across your chest. You remember marching, not in formation, but barefoot along a stream as a child, splashing with your brother. His name surfaces, then slips away. You try not to hold it. You've learned memory is slippery when grasped too tightly. You remember a courtyard full of figs drying in baskets. The smell earthy and sweet, fermenting in the heat. You were 12. You had just been beaten for stealing a fig from the market. Your mother scolded you with tears in her eyes and fed you bread that night anyway. Her love never sounded like the poets described it. It was quieter, stronger. A hand on the back, not words in the air. Another breath. You feel the ash shift on your chest, but you do not move. Your muscles are heavy, but not sore. Not afraid. Just distant. You remember the girl from the pottery stall. She never told you her name. She never needed to. Her hair was always pulled back with a red cord. Her hands were stained with clay. Once, she gave you a cup she made herself plain, lopsided, perfect. You never drank from it. You just kept it near your bed. After she stopped showing up at the market, you buried it beneath your pillow. You wonder if she's buried too. Maybe not under stone, but beneath someone's memory like you buried her cup. Your thoughts drift again. You're standing once more beneath the statue of Jupiter. Before the eruption, before the end. You stood there once during guard duty. You looked up at him, all marble and rage, and you felt small. You feel smaller now. Not out of shame, but out of clarity. The way mountains are small to the sky. Another image, the training fields outside the walls. Dust clouds rising beneath stopping feet. The shouts of instructors, the iron of discipline. You and Antonius exchanging grins after knocking shields. Antonius, he died in Gaul, far from here. An arrow in his neck. No one even knew his name when they burned him. You do? You remember the song he used to hum when polishing his boots. You hum it now, almost involuntarily, though no sound escapes your lips. You shift slightly. Your knee protests. You're still alive. That matters. In the stillness, you remember something strange a night before the eruption. A dream. You were walking through an orchard that stretched into the sea. Trees bent toward the water, branches heavy with fruit you couldn't name. In the dream, you weren't a soldier. You weren't anyone. You were wind. You woke up confused. You remember that confusion now and laugh without sound. You feel the ache of your ribs, maybe cracked, maybe bruised. The city collapsed around you, not out of cruelty, but indifference, the same way rain falls on both temples and thieves. Vesuvius didn't care who you were, but the ash, the silence, they care. They remember. They hold you like a mother holds a fevered child, tightly, quietly. You think of home, a real home, not barracks or tents. A farmhouse, maybe, one that never existed. You invent it now. Low walls, a soft roof, rosemary growing near the door. You're sitting at a table, older than you are now, hands calloused, not from war, but from planting. A daughter runs past you, laughing. She looks like someone you knew, but can't place. You don't call out to her, you just watch. And in that watching, you feel peace. You open your eyes, or maybe they were open all along. The crack in the stone above you glows faintly. The color is not morning or evening. It's just light, pure, featureless, unwound. Like the first light before anything had a name. You remember prayers, not from temples, but whispered in the field. You remember asking Mars for strength, Juno for luck. Now you pray for neither. You ask for nothing. You simply exist, and that is enough. You inhale. The dust enters your body again, but now it feels familiar, like it belongs to you, or perhaps you belong to it. Either way, there is no struggle. Only breath, slow and sure, carving time into this still place. You close your eyes. You think, if someone digs here one day, will they find you? Will they know who you were? Probably not. They'll see the armor, the bones, the place you fell. Maybe they'll guess. Maybe they'll imagine. But they won't know the figs, the pottery, the girl, the stream, the cup, the song, the farmhouse that never was, the orchard dream, the face of your brother. But you know. And for now, that is enough. You breathe, another breath, then another, and slip beyond memory into silence. Pompeii crumbles above. Morning is not as you remember it. The sun curves softly across pale skies, but here beneath the layers, it feels distant. You wake not to alarm or command, but to silence refined through centuries. The stillness remains, though the city above has been reborn. Researchers move deliberately through pathways erected over ancient streets. Their voices are muted, their tools are precise, and beneath them you breathe once more. A gloved hand parts ash with fragile tenderness. Ceramic fragments appear, pottery rims, wine cups, oil lamps, each a silent testament to lives once lived here. You are present in each brushing. Your skeleton lies just beneath. Your shield, your sandals, your armor flecked with ash. They dig gently, reverently. They uncover the faint imprint of your final rest. Not a soldier spoken of in history, but the curve of your pose echoes in Earth's memory. A pair of archaeologists lean forward, comparing notes. Their languages surround the site: Italian, English, French, but the site itself speaks one tongue, that of absence and return. Tiles from houses uncovered, murals glimpsed behind collapsed walls. Faint outlines of graffiti fortuna favored the brave. The same phrase you traced with your finger centuries earlier. The echo returns. Tourists walk on raised planks overhead. Their shoes click softly. Cameras capture snapshots. Some pause at displays behind glass bronze coins, ceramic shards, inscriptions. Not all inscriptions mention a soldier, yet each artifact rests on your pulse. You listened to the tapping of metal, the whistle of wind through olive branches, the laughter children threw into the market square while they ran ahead of you. Their echoes now appear in lines painted, in pot shards lying in trays, in walls carefully reconstructed. The archaeologists preserve it like entropy reversed. A guide kneels beside an outline traced into the earth, a rectangular impression matching your body. She lifts a transparent roof overhead so students can kneel and peer. They trace your form with their eyes, whispering, "He lay here." Then silence again, respectful and complete. In their quiet, your presence breathes still. You remember your life before death with odd clarity. You remember walking from your barracks under torchlight at dusk. Now people walk the same ground with flashlights at dawn, swabbing walls with soft brushes, listening for the crack of pottery, the groan of stone shifting, the whisper of dust falling away. Your commands once echoed across those stones. Now only goosefoot trowels. You hear a distant click of a camera shutter. A student leans over, surprised by a fresco uncovered within an alcove. The painting is faint, a woman offering bread to a small child. The lines were blurred by ash, but rose again in careful restoration. The guide identifies it as a depiction of domestic life. You recall your mother's hands kneading dough in the courtyard at dusk. You taste that memory once more, not sharp, but rooted. Further along, a sign marks an excavation zone labeled Insula VII. Tourists stand on one side, the archaeologists on the other. They chat softly about ancient plumbing systems revealed beneath stone floors, terracotta pipes carrying water across long-forgotten baths. You remember the cool bathhouse steam, the cedar oil and laughter of men sliding from caldarium pools. That laughter died under your feet. But here, where tools once again expose the conduit, your breath mingles with their echo. Statues lie half-buried, their forms twisted by years. One pillar, once carved for Minerva, leans at a broken angle. Her spear extends upward into haze, now dissipated by modern air. You see her face smudged, but determined. A conservator wipes a tool across her body to remove centuries of ash. Dust puffs upward. The guide records the progress. Time coils around both figure and memory. Somewhere, children run across raised walkways overhead, whispering about ghosts. A woman seated nearby pulls a stray piece of ash from her sandal. She looks down at it, puzzled only to find a faint footprint traced into the stone beneath. She freezes. A moment of awe, a moment of connection. You recall moments before the final ash fell, how the air tasted like sulfur, how each puff of smoke felt like invisibly carving the sky. Here they invite researchers to test the ash's composition, silica levels, volcanic glass fragments, chemical signatures. Each test sends long threads of science into the trace of your breath. On a bench nearby, journals are open sketches of frescoes found, photographs of mosaics, notes about tile patterns. You see your name nowhere, but you see your house, your courtyard, your street, the colors of plaster, the geometry of fans and columns. Someone draws it carefully, yellow chalk on paper, layering memory onto paper. There is reverence in the air, respect, yes, but more, wonder. A sense that beneath the weight of destruction, life waits to be uncovered. That Pompeii isn't a story about ruin so much as remembrance restored. And in the depths, you still toughen the earth with your breath. You feel that these people, archaeologists, guides, visitors, carry half your story now. Without words, they revive what was lost. Without understanding all of you, they give space for parts of you to whisper, to exist outside that final moment. The sky is fading overhead, early afternoon, brimming with modern light. You can feel it crescendo above the dustless air. Meanwhile, beneath, the layers of time pulse gently like the pages of a book turning. But the stillness of your story remains constant. A final artifact has uncovered your helmet, cracked but intact. Careful hands lift it, wrap it in cloth. It's catalogued, assigned a number. Soon it will rest behind glass. But for a moment before it is lifted, you run your fingers across its curve in memory. You remember its weight, the metal cold over your head when the ash fell. You inhale the air again, though you no longer need to breathe. Your chest rises ever so slightly as visitors crowd around. They're not looking at you. They are looking through you, at fragments of life fallen, then recovered. And this is not sadness. It is solace. You are not gone. You are present beneath titles, behind texts, but still here. The dust settles on the plates and mosaic lines. It refuses to erase you. The scholars exchange data. Tourists depart. The site fills with reflections, light bending off glass, footsteps marching back up ramps into history. And beneath the stone, memory still pulses, heartbeat strong. The city above breathes again. But here beneath the earth you remain. You're here now, silent in the darkness, laying still. But the hush you feel is not emptiness, it's echo. It moves like soft breeze through olive leaves, like ash drifts across faded cobblestones. What followed you home is not phantom, it is presence. A whisper of 2 millennia, riding on your breath. It isn't memory, it's continuation. You inhale, deeply, softly. You taste a faint trace of stone and salt, a hint of smoke turned to powder. It wraps your tongue, not with fear, and yet it resonates with something ancient. You hold it not consciously, but body remembers. In the quiet, tunnel vision opens. The walls of your room dissolve. The floor beneath your cheek feels warmer, older. You imagine each grain below you, soil, dust, ash, where the soldier once lay. Layers of time cover him now. But even beneath weight of centuries, his breath lingers faintly. Your eyes close. You drift into night's softer light. Past thoughts simmer low, tomorrow's dinner, work, plans, but they fade beside what matters. You're still breathing. You're carrying breath forward now. Not only yours, but breaths from that night in the barracks. The breath of citizens, of family dinners, of country fields. Each breath advances time, gives shape to memory. You imagine light returning at dawn after the eruption. Imagine archaeologists stepping into ash-laden streets merely to brush dust aside, revealing mosaic tiles, fragments of human life. And centuries later, someone like you walks those streets again. Visitors pass. not understanding the weight of each step. You are part of that weight now. You feel the residue of a life in Pompeii alive in memory. It isn't history, it's a pulse. You recall the sound of wind and the olive grove rustle of leaves overhead, birds calling in spring warmth. You recall smell of fresh bread cooling on courtyard tables, laughter beneath vine shadows. You recall night sky flicker, the feel of stone beneath sandals at dusk. All that lives again in you submerged but breathing. You remember your own face before screens, before urgency. Your mother's voice folded into evening prayers, not religious, just lullaby and love. It formed you. It planted roots deeper than conquest or tally. That same quiet is what now cradles your thought. So when tomorrow buzzes into motion, emails, tasks, you'll carry this slower cadence. Not rebellion, not defiance, but reverence. Let the inside of your chest hold peace again. The world felt final once, but final is not ending. It is punctuation. History starts sometimes with exclamation, but often with whisper. This whisper becomes memory, then story, then ember, then glow. You carry it forward when you sit in quiet with someone else. Let the inhale slow you. Let the ancestor beneath the earth stay with you in your steps today. Pompeii fell. Pompeii was lost. But those lines, mosaic, tesserae, footprints, letters on tablets, weren't erased. They whispered back. And you, here in night's breath, listen for it. Now you're at the point where echo becomes your echo. You may never know who that soldier was. You may never walk the ruins in sunshine, but he walks with you in breath. And now on this night, and perhaps beyond, you are both. You are witness. You are keeper of stillness. You are the echo beneath. Now let your eyes close. Breathe deep. Feel silence, not as absence, but as welcome. You belong to tonight, to memory, to what remains between breaths. Sleep gently. Sleep long. Let the echo cradle you home. You are already home, folded into stillness. The world outside pulses with urgency phones, schedules, deadlines. But here, beneath this shared silence, time bends. Your breath is not hunger for noise, but remembrance of quiet that transcends centuries. You rest, cradled by memory's weight, by the things that do not vanish. Your chest rises and falls, each breath carrying residue of those who came before you. You walk inward now, not across ruined plazas or excavation sites, but along corridors of presence. You trace the wheel of time spinning beneath sandy layers, and behind each rotation you find breath ancient, newer, yours. This is not history swallowed by dust. It is history anchored in skin, embedded in your lungs, humming in veins. Think of all who stood in those streets before the ash fell. Sellers, children, priests, carrying jars of water, temple singers. Now you stand in their echo. You hear their silences between voices, their hesitations, their laughter still paused in frescoes. You remember being in Pompeii Museum once. Glass cases lined with coins, loom weights, lamps shaped like oil droplets. Each piece small archaeology of life's breath. You remember touching the glass and whispering a silent thank you to whoever made it, carried it, lost it not knowing it might be your mother's voice in another lifetime. Her hands tangled in dough. You inhale deeply now. Let the air fill not only lungs, but memory crevices beneath ribs. Let the silent pulse of Pompeii's end settle into the rhythm of your own life. Breath becomes vessel. Pulse becomes bridge. You drift further. You think of your grandmother turning pages in sunlit rooms. The comfort of tones thicker than the silence outside. Your brother's laughter in nighttime rainstorms. Your childhood field of poppies shimmering in dawn. These are memory locations now, anchored by scent and light, connected across cities by ash and breath. You feel the weight of presence deepen. Not demand, but resonance. You are carved from centuries. The city that fell still breathes beneath your ribs. It never stopped breathing. Now breathing beneath quiet rooms under floodlights, beneath dusted artifacts, beneath this quiet within you. You recall how breath doubles history. Inhale brings life forward. Exhale returns to the past. The continuity holds. The soldier who lay in Pompeii air still breathes here in your chest. When you rise in the morning, muscles heavy and joint ache dull, that same breath wakes lineage of stillness. You imagine excavation restarting tomorrow. Sunlight eases across unstable walls. Researchers descend with purpose. Each finds fragments, each reconstructs shape. But the shapes they restore are less accurate than the whispers beneath, the songs never sung beyond collapse. The laughter child won't say, the untranscribed prayers that rose to gods. You accept now that not everything pays forward. Some things breathe backward. Some things translate only in silence. You become curator of unsaid words, keeper of almost forgotten names, guardian of quiet. Your breath slows further, unhurried. The rise, the fall pulse anchoring stillness. You feel layers of years meld beneath you. Not just Pompeii, but all forgotten cities. Every place that rose, fell, slept, and waited. Pyramid slabs, temple ruins, medieval markets, all trace the same pattern. You breathe again. Another inhale gathering depth. Another breath travels through timelines, the soldier, his sister, the girl with red cord, that shift worker archaeologist brushing dust, you now holding ash in your lungs. Each breath touches each time. Tonight, breathing is liturgy. You breathe. Another breath, then another, and slip beyond memory into silence. Pompeii crumbles above. You lie quietly now, still under weight of centuries in soft stone. Every inhalation curls through memory and existence, catching threads of lives lived long ago, in streets crumbling beneath your breath. Ancient markets humming with life, olives drying in baskets, colored frescoes fading under sunlight, and ash all echo faintly in this chamber of present silence. Breathe slowly. Draw in all the quiet memories entwined in Pompeii's ruins. Let them swirl within your lungs, the rasp of carts on cobblestones, children laughing beneath vine-swathed patios, the drip of water from stone fountains cooling the dusk air once turned away under guard duty, now carried inward as pulse and presence in your heart. These layered pulses build across time in your veins. Your blood hums with the murmur of long-gone heartbeats. You imagine the soldier rising before dawn, armor clinking, patrolling narrow alleyways while torches sputtered softly. Then ash fell. You breathe his breath now. His last heart slowed, yet it pulses here still, beneath your chest. Time bends beneath the strain, and the breath of witness. You feel the resin-scented dusk in the bathhouse, cedar oil slicing through steam, laughter echoing from caldarium to atrium. You taste salt from seas beyond Pompeii's shore. You feel sweat drying across your face from distant sunlit guard posts. All that still lives in you. All the residues entwine and thrum beneath your ribs. You are not alone. You are breathing the lives of many a tapestry woven by countless mornings and final evenings. Let the hush grow. Beneath it, the dust of excavation brushes over ancient mosaics once vibrantly colored. Trowels brush carefully. Researchers exhale softly into deeper quiet, uncovering pottery shards, oil lamps, inscribed with Lav Deo lost prayers to gods. You breathe beneath their hands, presence breathed upward again. Nothing is lost. All endures beneath memory's sweep. You feel your spine rooted to earth. Each breath deepens your shadow in the soil of the past. You feel regret, but you do not cling. Maybe you never returned home. Maybe you left behind promises, but the ash carries them forward now. You exhale forgiveness. You inhale peace. Now, in this breath, you are behind glass cases, helmet removed, urns catalogued, footsteps above fading away, and you are also the ruin itself, clay shards and traces in excavation catalogs. You are both artifact and living witness. Feel weight shift beneath your bones. Inhale. The sound becomes soft thunder in the distance, not fear, pulsing through skeletal remains of streets, through tiled walls, through bone. You become bridge, the soldier's breath to archaeologist's memory to your own quiet night. The mountain's roar is distant now. Rain falls in your memory of one night before the eruption. You saw the slope steam. Tremors rattled rooftops, and later you found calm in the barracks shared with weary men. That calm remains in you now. You hold it. You carry it back home, beyond ashen corridors and silent ruins. And so you breathe. Another breath. Then another. Each imbued with ages and echoes. Until breath is not escape, but archive. Not emptiness, but home. You breathe. Another breath. Then another. And slip beyond memory into silence. Pompeii crumbles above. You follow the faint hum beneath the rubble of time. Not a sound, but a pulse. Each inhalation you take picks up the footstep of someone long gone, the seamstress who wove linen in Pompeii's workshops, the baker who kneaded barley at dawn, the scout who patrolled the forum's edge under torchlight, the little girl who paused to catch ash on her tongue before her mother pulled her inside. All breathing, all present in the resonance. You feel the passage of time ripple through you as if every breath is a timeline. Inhale, bronze chink of sandals on basalt. Exhale, trowel scraping soil in a 21st century dig. Inhale, oil drips in a bathhouse. Exhale, gloved fingers tracing ceramic rim. Each inhalation, each exhalation connects centuries. Philosophers once said that time's river flows only forward, but the river bends. Streams from Pompeii feed into your veins now. You imagine walking in replica sandals during an historical reenactment, dust scratching between your toes. That's the same dust caked beneath your modern fingernails as you listen to this story tonight. You're aware of silence blowing cold across your back. You know that many took voice before. Roman rulers proclaiming clemency, forum scholars reading lunar omens, soldiers singing hymns beneath amber torches. Now all those voices converge in your own breathing. Napoleon may have missed Pompeii's riches, but you hold richer truths in your chest than any emperor ever possessed. Let the hush stretch further. You can feel the mountain's crater as a wound in sky. Not eruption now, but memory of eruption tremors recorded in sediment layers, magma mapped in rock core samples, ash carried on wind across continents. Scientists still dig into those geological texts, reconstructing the events hour by hour, but in your ribs resides the soft shadow of it, the stagger before collapse, the hush before final tremor. Do you remember the story of Pliny the Younger witnessing the eruption from Misenum? His letters are kept in marble translations, spoken again by scholars. You breathe those letters now. Nature moved through space. He called the bloom of smoke a pine tree's shape. That description pulses within you as metaphor and fact both. When you inhale, you breathe his words. When you exhale, you raise the dust of your own breath. Imagine a teacher tomorrow reading those words to a classroom filled with bright-eyed students. The teacher stands over imported shale from Vesuvius plumes. Kids press their fingers into it, wander breathing into clay. They never see you, yet you shape their fascination. You breathe in their curiosity. They breathe in history, given life again. Now expand beyond Pompeii. Think of cities swallowed by other disasters, Pompeii of dust and Petra's rose-red walls, Herculaneum's carbon footprints, ancient Hattusa under overgrown chimneys, Maya codices lost in flames, libraries buried beneath sand and war. You feel familiarity, loss mirrored. You sense each fallen city's story shading this one breathing line in your memory. Anchored still in your chest is one soldier's last night in Pompeii. But around that slumber are millions more farmers, artisans, children. The mosaic widows in the ruins are not just stones. They are women who paused midday to rest their jars, to remember prayers. When you breathe again, you call them back into subtle existence. You remember museum vow. They preserve not trophies, but threads of lives. They return you fragments, scrolls soaked in color, fresco eyes blinking into reconstruction light, leather sandals that still hold the shape of souls. Your breath expands to wrap around each artifact as if caring for them. You learn they name the Domus of Menander, the Villa of Mysteries, a frescoed labyrinth beneath glass floors. You sit above it in modern lighting, watching tourists tread carefully, cameras clicking. You feel both below and at the same moment inside each step. Your breath touches each tile beneath the walkway like whispered blessing. Inhale, flecks of gold leaf glint under restoration lights. Exhale, dust settles. Let the hush widen outward. Museums, ruins, modern homes. Let each place echo Pompeii's cycle. When a novice builder shapes brick, ash speaks of the weight of collapse and of longer endurance. When a cook stirs stew in your city now, the same herbs may be ancient basil or lentil or spices once cooked in thermopolium fires. You taste continuity. You hear gardeners planting olive saplings atop layers of old rubble, attracting roots through centuries of sediment. You inhale that new growth. You know vines knitting through ruined stones will someday bloom. Allow breath to stretch longer now, measuring grace across decades. You've drifted far now past dust beneath rubble, past the soldier's sleep, past modern reconvening and into your own night's silence. But Pompeii remains, does not vanish beneath restored walkways or digital reconstructions or even scholarly commentary. It stays in breath, in memory, in quiet promise. Take your final breaths now, deliberate and full. You breathe. Another breath, then another, and slip beyond memory into silence. Pompeii crumbles above. You move slowly, as though underwater, drifting through an empty city stitched into your breath. The streets are gone, or rather they're buried, beneath ash and memory. Yet the outlines remain. The market still hums with silent voices. The fountain's horses stand stone, still, tails frozen, mouths open to nothing. You can feel their silent pause in your bones. You step into the afterplace not to escape, but to belong. It is an echo chamber of souls, suspended in patchy light and indefinite shadow, where life continues in whisper and rhythm. You recall voices calling in the thermopolium at night, closing time. The clink of clay cups, the low laugh of a street singer, the murmur of gossip, none of it violent, none of it loud. That unrecorded hum lives here in this place beneath layers of displacement. It lingers in the dust coating your breath. You taste barley leavening into life again. You smell roasted lamb gone cold. These scents waft through centuries to settle across your mind, unbidden, haunting, steady. Beyond you, the forum pulses faintly, not with steps, but with residual energy. The ghost of a Senate meeting crackles in the echo of marble columns. You walk across chipped tiles, imprinting new breath into old archaeological grids. Your pulse aligns with tiled mosaics, underfoot patterns of geometric art, once bright with pigment, now dulled but still there beneath reconstructions. They tell stories, labyrinths, gods, daily life. You trace one tile with a fingertip, your finger trembles as though touching nerves, unearthing nerve, end memory. You breathe deep, feel the dust react, feel something alive inside the ruins, joy, sorrow, prayer, laughter. A woman's hand laid on her child's hair in farewell, knowing without words what fear lurked in the sky. A man carrying pottery jugs across a plaza at dusk, whispering an old couplet to ward off rain. These unspoken acts now live in silent repetition in the afterplace. They echo in each inhalation you draw. The wind picks up faintly, carrying filtered modern air, but beneath your bones the ancient breeze remains. You feel the snap of storm clouds gathering. They didn't heed superstition or omens. Still, you feel their lull before disaster, the same lull you feel here now. You wander into a ruined domus courtyard. Wisteria vines, now re-rooted there, rise from stone cracks, purple blossoms open unbidden. Life resists collapse. You inhale their scents, sweet green. Contrast that with ancient mortar now cracked, but still holding walls upright, both beauty and ruin intertwined. They teach you that continuity unfolds from both destruction and tenderness. Footsteps echo overhead now, archaeologists, moving walkways built to protect fragility below. You imagine you are one of them. You brush aside ash to reveal mosaic edges. You whisper salve to a nearby mosaic of a man's face, probably someone you walked past long ago. Under the dust, you see his features come into focus, a brow, an eye, a faint smile. You hold your breath briefly and see your own face reflected in polished marble beneath your fingertips. In another corner, a tour guide recounts the eruption's hours. Pumice fall, ash, heat, silence, collapse. Someone in the room gasps when they see the eruption timeline correlation with skeleton positions discovered. You hear them from far above. You feel their shock in your breath. You recognize fear. You recognize wonder. You felt both long before grief set in. You sit in that courtyard bench resting on smooth stone carved with shell patterns. You close your eyes and drift. You hear unrecorded noises. A dog's bark, horses tethered, someone calling for water. You realize you never left. You're still present in the afterplace. Sometimes history is not behind you, but beneath you layers of selves breathing still in sediment. You sense passing time reversing. A bird lands on a broken cornice above you. It stirs the dust. A feather drifts. You trace its path. It seems impossible you could be here, perched above void, but here you are. You feel fear recede, because not even ruin can completely erase presence. You breathe in that sacred realization. Restoration is not about rebuilding walls. It's about recognizing breath beneath ash. It's touching tile and whispering recognition. It's hearing plates clink centuries later and feeling the soul of a dinner long forgone. You stroll past excavated bedrooms where bodies lay undisturbed since a D-79, skeletons splayed, arms folded like prayer, but you feel no death here. You feel continuation. You feel the soldier's smile when he stood guard under torchlight, the field workers resting at noon, the infants breathing in mother's arms. You hear Jose Pi under excavators whispering anatomy, artistry, lineage. Those terms dry cold on paper, but you feel lineage warm in bone. Your breath thickens. Dust settles in your mouth. You close your eyes so that sound and memory can breathe together. You imagine you are centuries older now. A voice reading briefs in a modern archaeological congress, citing Pompeii as case study in preservation. They speak of tectonics, of stratigraphy, of culture. But beneath those technical words, their lungs still inhale the same residue. You cross the edge of a ruined street and step into a new walkway. Tourists press their faces against glass overhead. Their reflections peel across your field of vision. You nod at them silently. You carry their breath. They do not know it, but you do. Night deepens, not here, but in your chest. You close your eyes again and inhale memory. You taste brine from sea salt-soaked tiles, metal from lantern handles, dryness from hot walls. You exhale and release a lifetime into soil, and so you breathe. Another breath, then another, and slip beyond memory into silence. Pompeii crumbles above. There is a stillness that comes not with death, but with what comes after. It's not silent. It's not empty. It waits. The earth beneath Pompeii has always known how to wait. After the eruption, there was heat, then silence, then ash. And beneath that ash, life continued, not in motion, but in memory, in the slow hum of minerals turning over, in the soft decay of fig roots curling through ruined floor tiles, in the way the wind carries dust across centuries, as if it remembers where it's been. You walk that dust now, not as a ghost, not as a time traveler, but as someone who has fallen into the breath between history and imagination. Somewhere real, somewhere forgotten, somewhere still alive in ways no calendar could name. You pass through a corridor where stone columns lean inward, the weight of centuries pressed down like old thoughts. You reach out to touch the wall, but your fingers meet only warmth, the warmth of sunlight soaked deep into rock, not a ghost's chill, not memory's shadow, something more human. You press your palm flat. You imagine another hand doing the same, long ago, maybe a baker's, maybe a child's. You do not know their name, but the stone remembers their touch. The ground beneath your feet doesn't speak, but it listens. It's listening now, to you, to the thousands before, to the thousands after. Each footfall layered over the last, like slow sediment, a palimpsest of breath, weight, and intention. You realize you're not walking on ruins. You're walking on choices, on endings, on hopes folded into dust. A dog trots across a broken tile ahead of you. It's not real. Not now, but you see it, a lean street dog, ribs showing, tongue lolling, tail wagging, once before it vanishes into the past. You imagine it belonged to a girl with sunburned cheeks and a laugh like broken pottery. Maybe she fed it scraps of barley bread and lentils. Maybe she named it. Maybe it died before the mountain ever woke up. Or maybe it didn't. The thing about Pompeii is, everything might have happened, and nothing can happen again, except in this place, the in-between, the waiting earth. You move toward the edge of what was once a bathhouse. The roof is gone. The pools are empty, but your mind fills them again, with steam, with sound, with echoes bouncing off stone walls. Laughter, arguments, coins dropped into basins. You sit on a half-broken bench. You watch shadows of bodies rise and fall. Not ghosts, just impressions like ripples left in clay. There's a boy splashing water, a woman braiding her hair, a man humming a song he heard in the market, but can't quite remember. These are the Pompeians that remain, not the famous ones, not the plaster casts, but the everyday souls whose stories were never written down, the ones who made the city breathe. A bird calls overhead. You look up, and for a moment you think you're back in your time. But no, there are no power lines, no jet trails, no engine hum. Just sky, wide, open, vast. It carries the same blue it did 2,000 years ago. You stare at it for a while until your thoughts slow. until your breathing matches the wind's lazy rhythm, until even the story you're inside begins to feel like it's exhaling. The waiting earth does not rush. It holds. It holds the memory of a mother pulling her child toward a doorway as ash begins to fall. It holds the last glance a man gave his lover before disappearing into a collapsing colonnade. It holds the heat, the light, the sound of things ending. And it holds you, still listening, present. You think about archaeologists who stood where you now sit, brushing aside soil with delicate strokes, whispering under their breath. You imagine one of them finding a coin, abring a tooth, holding it in the palm like a heartbeat. What a strange kind of love to care for people you've never met. But that's what Pompeii asks for. That's what it gives in return. You think about how many shoes have passed over this place. Leather, wood, rubber soles, bare feet. Each pair carried a person with hopes, with fear, with something unfinished in their heart. You think about your own footsteps. You wonder if the ground remembers them yet. The sun is lower now. Shadows stretch long and soft across stone. Somewhere, a modern camera shutter clicks. A tourist whispers, "It's beautiful," and another replies, "It's sad." You smile, because both are true. Pompeii is beautiful. Pompeii is sad. Pompeii is not gone. It waits. It listens. And it breathes in its own quiet way, beneath the vines and dust and time. You rest your hands on your knees. You look out at nothing, but you feel everything. And then you close your eyes. You breathe. You let the waiting earth hold you. And for now, you let go. You are still here. That realization comes not with surprise, but with acceptance. There's no dramatic return, no abrupt awakening, no break in the illusion, just the quiet continuation of presence, of being, as though you've simply changed posture inside the story. You are still the soldier, still walking streets made of memory, still listening to a city that refuses to be forgotten. Pompeii remains not just as artifact, but as atmosphere, as residue. It clings not to the skin, but to the soul. You carry it in the slow turning of thought, in the gentle weight behind each breath. It is no longer a place you visit. It is a place you remember from somewhere deeper than sight. The ash beneath you is not cold, not inert. It hungs with lives paused mid-movement. A woman leaning over a cooking pot. A boy learning to write on a wax tablet. A man lighting the last lantern before sleep. These images are not dramatic. They are not tragic. They are still. And that stillness is sacred. You enter the remnants of a villa, now columns, slumped like tired shoulders, open roof pouring light across cracked floor mosaics. The patterns are worn, but the craftsmanship holds. You trace them with your eyes, imagining the hand that placed each tessera. Someone knelt here centuries ago, arranging color, shape, and meaning. They didn't know the mountain would take it all. Or maybe they did. Maybe everyone always knows, and some part of themselves that nothing lasts, but they built it anyway. And now you stand in their quiet defiance. There's a room near the back where plaster still clings to the walls. Faded birds, laurel leaves, a fig tree drawn in ochre. You step inside, and the air feels warmer, not because of sunlight, but because of proximity to breath, to life, to what once mattered. You rest your hand on the painted trunk. It's nothing more than pigment and crumbling lime, but it feels like bark, like memory, like someone once dreamed of a garden, and that dream held long enough to leave a trace. You move through a corridor and hear the soft clatter of something imagined, a dropped amphora, the murmur of voices behind paper-thin walls. You know these aren't real, but your body reacts as if they are, because what is real, if not what we respond to? The past lives in the present, not through facts, but through feeling, and Pompeii is full of it. A library of sensations etched into stone. You stop beneath an archway. It's broken now, half gone, uneven, but you can see it complete in your mind. You know how it would have looked when it was new, the careful symmetry, the gleam of fresh marble. You imagine someone walking through it in 79 AD, carrying figs in a cloth bag, calling out to a friend. That person was real. They lived here, and somehow you're close to them now. This place does not speak in words. It speaks in warmth, in weight, in silence, and beneath it all the ash. It is the earth's memory, not as punishment, not as destruction, but as preservation, a strange kind of mercy to hold so tightly what might have otherwise vanished. The bodies it covered, the homes it filled, the utensils and graffiti and sandals, it kept them all. It turned Pompeii into a message, sealed and waiting for someone to listen. Now that someone is you. You sit on a broken wall near what was once a baker's oven. The stones are darkened by time, by heat, by use. You smell flour. It's not there, but your mind provides it. You hear footsteps in gravel, the clink of coins, the scrape of metal on clay. You lean back and close your eyes, not to sleep, but to see better. You remember everything now, not as yourself, but as the city. You remember how water flowed through aqueducts and sang against basins. You remember the chill of stone floors before sunrise. You remember the first ash that fell not heavy, not alarming, just strange. You remember how people looked up, curious, not afraid, not yet. You remember the moment it changed, the first tremor, the first plume, the first breath of heat that didn't belong. But this isn't a story about endings. It's about what lingers. Because Pompeii didn't vanish, Dot, it simply shifted into another form. You rise slowly. You walk the length of the forum, now empty, now vast. The columns rise around you like silent sentinels. You are not afraid. You are not alone. The city walks with you. Every crack in the pavement, every scorched fresco, every buried artifact, it's all a breath held just a little longer, Dot. And then you arrive at the city's edge. There is no sign, no marker, just the soft slope where stone meets soil. You kneel, press your hand to the ground. It's warm, still warm, and the ash beneath you hums with every footstep ever taken, every story half finished, every name carved into stucco. It is not dead, it is not gone, it is remembering. And now, so are you. You sit, you breathe, you let the ash hold you, and you rest, because this is not the end. This is just where the silence begins. You thought you were alone. All this time through the courtyards, past the frescoes, down the cracked stone paths, this quiet had wrapped around you like a blanket, not cold, not hollow, but still enough to convince you that Pompeii had fallen completely silent. But you were wrong. There are others here. You feel it before you understand it, a pressure in the air, a shift in the light, a kind of recognition in your body that bypasses thought and anchors itself in bone, the kind of knowing that can't be taught. You are not the only one who stayed. They're not ghosts, not in the way stories tell it. They don't flicker in and out. They don't reach out with skeletal fingers. They don't wail through broken windows or trail behind you in chains. No, what lingers here is more patient, more real. They are impressions, moments, presences pressed into the atmosphere so deeply that time couldn't unstick them. They are the ones who never left. You walk down a street where the buildings lean slightly inward, close enough to imagine neighbors calling across balconies, sharing olives or gossip or bread still warm from the oven. Your footsteps are slow now, not from fear, but reverence. The way you might walk through a sleeping house that isn't yours, careful not to disturb what is still dreaming. Ahead, a shadow moves, not with speed, not with sound, but with familiarity. A woman turning the corner. You can't see her face, just the swish of her dress, the faintest outline of her movement against the fading wall. She's gone before you can place her, but you know she's not a hallucination. She's memory, returning to her rhythm. You follow? There's no urgency, no expectation, just a quiet pull of recognition. You pass a doorway you've seen before. A crumbling arch, ivy curling down its frame, the remnants of red paint still clinging to plaster like a memory that refuses to fade. You step through without hesitation into what used to be a home. The atrium is open to the sky, just like all the others. But this one feels warmer somehow, not in temperature but in tone. There's something here, someone. She sits by the impluvium, a woman, not more than 30, dressed in what looks like the pale linen of a housekeeper or a merchant's wife. Her back is straight, her gaze fixed on nothing. Not frozen, not dead, just enduring. She doesn't acknowledge you, but her presence does. It fills the space, calms it. You take a seat across from her on a worn bench. The stone is cracked beneath you, but your weight feels accepted, like this room still remembers what it means to host a visitor. You study her for a moment. Her hands rest gently in her lap, fingers loosely interlaced. Her shoulders are soft, not tense, not rigid, at peace in her own strange way. This moment, her presence, it isn't meant for you, but you are allowed to witness it. You look beyond her, toward the painted walls of the room. They're peeling now, flaking like old skin, but behind the damage you see the art. A faded garden scene, birds mid-flight, a pair of lovers meeting under a fig tree, a child chasing a dog through the underbrush. You smile, because even now, after everything, this room still tries to remember joy. The woman shifts slightly, breathes, just once, and you feel it like a ripple through the stones. This house belongs to her. Maybe it always will. You rise and move deeper into the home, through narrow halls, past collapsed beams, into what used to be a sleeping room. The cot is gone, but the depression in the floor where it stood remains. You kneel beside it, place your hand flat on the ground. It's warm, not from sunlight, but from history. Someone slept here, many nights, many dreams. You imagine a man rising before dawn to prepare for market. A child tossing and turning after stories of monsters told too close to bedtime. A woman curling into herself, whispering prayers to household gods as ash began to fall. These are not your memories, but somehow they live in you now. You step back into the street. The light is low, the sun almost gone, and again you sense another presence. This one is smaller, a child, maybe 7 or 8, darting through an alley with the energy only children possess. He doesn't see you, doesn't hear you, but you watch him leap over a pile of stones, his laughter leaving no echo, only a vibration in your chest. He's not lost, he's playing, even here, even now. Pompeii doesn't haunt. It holds. It holds the rhythm of days, the pattern of lives, the spaces between tragedy. It doesn't scream to be remembered. It invites you to remember what mattered. You wander past a fountain, its spout long dry, but the basin still intact. You imagine the cool water once flowing over your fingers, the relief of it on a hot day. Someone once carved a name into the stone. You run your fingers over the faded letters. The name is half gone, but someone loved it enough to leave a mark. You close your eyes. You feel their presence standing beside you, not watching, not warning, just existing, together. You walk until you reach the edge of the city again. Not the literal boundary, but the emotional one. The place where memory begins to loosen its grip, where the air grows thinner, quieter. You pause. Behind you, Pompeii continues softly alive, delicately humming with the ones who never left. They are not ghosts. They are not history. They are the stillness between footsteps, the space between words, the pause before a breath. You take that breath now that slow, steady, anchored in a city that still remembers. And as you begin to fade into sleep, into silence, into the soft, slow drift that brought you here, you know one thing for certain. You will never truly leave either. The city no longer speaks. It exhales in silence, now slow, long breaths that settle into the stones, into the cracks in the walls, into the spaces where voices once lived. Nothing is broken anymore. Nothing is falling. Everything has paused. And in that pause, something rare begins to unfold. A kind of peace. You pass beneath the shadow of what once was a temple. The columns rise like ribs of the earth, holding up the dark sky. Ivy climbs what's left of the marble. A fig tree leans in through a shattered wall, bearing fruit that no one will pick. You run your hand along the worn stone and feel warmth still radiating from the day. Faint, but alive. In the distance, there's the echo of sandals on stone. Not real, not imagined. Just the city remembering itself. You keep walking. The streets are empty, but not abandoned. There's a difference. Abandonment is cold, resentful. But this is not that. This is presence, resting. Stillness that has chosen to remain behind, not to haunt, but to hold. You pass the baker's shop. The oven is dark now, but the scent of flour lingers like a memory too old to forget. Someone once counted coins here, wrapped bread in cloth, nodded to neighbors through steam. You don't need to see them. You feel the rhythm of it all, pulsing faintly through the air. Nothing dramatic happens. The world doesn't collapse. The mountain doesn't scream. Instead, the night simply deepens. Not into fear, but into softness. And with that, you begin to slow. You step into a courtyard that opens to the sky. The stars have vanished behind a pale curtain of ash and cloud. But the moon still tries. Its glow is dull, scattered, diffused, but persistent. You stand in it, and it paints you silver. Not bright, not sharp, just enough. You sit. There's no ceremony to it. Just your body deciding it has moved far enough for one lifetime. The stone beneath you is cool, dry, solid, the kind of surface that could hold a story forever. You close your eyes not to block anything out, but to let more in. And this time there's no vision. No frescoes rising from the walls. No soldiers marching in dust. No women whispering lullabies or men calling to one another at the bathhouses. The city has quieted. The echoes have softened. What remains is something deeper. The hum, the resonance, the heartbeat of a place that remembers not with words, but with presence. You feel the weight of your breath settle into rhythm. In, out. Not forced. Not counted. Just there. A breeze passes overhead. You don't react. You don't need to. The world is finally still enough to hold your shape without asking you to fill it. And then comes the last light, not from the sky, not from flame, but from within. That final ember of self that burns not to survive, but to witness. You feel it dim, not snuffed, not erased, just dimmed, gently, with dignity. The way a lamp might lower itself after hours of warm glow. There is no ending, only this soft, endless fading. You lie back, no blanket, no bed, just the arms of the earth beneath you, the air curled around your fingers, the ash like dust from a dream. You no longer try to remember the soldier or the city or the life that carried you here, because everything that mattered has already been held, and now there is only rest. There is no fear in it, no need for courage or clarity or thought, only release. The world outside fades to nothing. The light inside fades to peace. You sleep not because you must, but because everything has finally allowed you to. And far beneath the surface, deeper than ruin or time, Pompeii listens and sleeps with you. There's a strange honesty in a city that's been buried. Nothing left to polish, no stage dressing, just what was. And as you walk the quiet corridors of Pompeii's remains, you feel that truth pressing softly against your senses. The ash didn't just blanket the streets, it etched everything beneath it into memory. Not in grandeur, but in the mundane. A loaf of bread, charred and left in an oven. A dog curled near a doorway, its leash still tied. The ink of a merchant's tally on a wooden tablet, never finalized. This wasn't a disaster frozen in time, it was a day. A regular day stopped mid-step. And now, beneath your slow, quiet breath, you walk not among ruins, but in the paused heartbeat of a place that thought it still had tomorrow. The silence around you doesn't feel empty. It feels full, thick with texture like fog you could reach into. And you begin to notice how much of that fullness comes from the details, the ones you would have missed had the city survived. The graffiti scratched on a bathhouse wall, a child's toy clay, cracked, still smiling. The curve of a jug beside a hearth, its handle broken but placed carefully on a shelf, as if someone meant to fix it later. These are not relics, they are conversations. Quiet, ancient gestures made by hands long gone, still waiting to be seen. And now, here you are. Not as an intruder, but as a final listener. You pass through a courtyard where figs once ripened in the sun. The tree is long gone, but its roots left impressions in the ground, like scars of abundance. You imagine the light filtering through the branches, dappling the faces of people who never imagined their daily lives would be preserved better than the myths. Not emperors, not legends, just people. Eating, washing, arguing, resting, and something about that brings the ache a little closer to your chest. Not sorrow, but something more complex. Gratitude, maybe, that the small was finally seen. You linger at what remains of a doorway-arched stone, scorched at the top, as if the heat itself bowed to the shape of entry. Inside there's nothing but shadow and dust, yet it feels intact. Not in structure, but in story. You don't need to know the names, you don't need a plaque. The story is in the stillness. The family that slept here, the table they gathered around, the clothes they folded and wore. You picture a woman combing her hair in the morning light, humming a tune she learned from her grandmother. You picture a child tracing their finger in spilled grain. These images don't come from history books. They come from the weight of what was left behind, and what was left behind came not from importance, but from interruption. Pompeii is a city of interruptions, conversations cut short, journeys unfinished, meals half-eaten. And somehow, in all of it, an honesty survives that feels more profound than anything carved into stone. You sit on what used to be a step and run your hand along the surface. It's pitted, uneven. There's a groove where generations of sandals must have landed, one after the other. The weight of repetition has shaped the stone, just as time shapes memory. You are part of that now. A final weight added gently to the path. In this moment, the mountain feels far away. The smoke has lifted, the fire long gone. What remains isn't heat, it's warmth. The warmth of presence, of awareness. You are not watching a tragedy unfold. You are cradling the moments that surrounded it, moments no one thought worth writing down. But the ash remembered them all. Every scraped knee, every drop of wine, every sigh in the dark. And you? You are here to feel them. This place doesn't offer closure. That was never the point. It offers invitation to listen more slowly, to witness without expectation, to let the ordinary rise like steam off a morning basin. In the distance, a breeze moves through the remnants of a vineyard. The trellises are gone, but the rows still hold shape, as if the vines might return, as if they still remember how to grow. Memory works like that. It doesn't need full form to carry meaning. Just enough outline, just enough scent. And in that space between what was and what remains, your breath becomes part of the rhythm. You sit longer than you expected, not because there is more to see, but because nothing is asking you to leave. The past has settled into place. The dust has chosen its shape. And still, the city breathes, not in noise, but in presence. You close your eyes and lean gently into that breath. It is the same one you carried in when you arrived. But now it feels quieter, slower, as if the air itself is heavier with story, as if even silence has something to say. Pompeii did not survive to be remembered. It endured so we could learn how to listen. And now you have. Let your breath stay slow. Let your body sink into the mattress, into the quiet, into the space between now and sleep. There is no mountain, there is no fire, there is no sound. Only the soft weight of story pressed gently across your chest. Only the stillness of a world long gone that waited just long enough for you to arrive. You've already walked the city. You've already heard its last words. Now you don't need to hold anything anymore. Let it all fall away. No more past. No more future. Only quiet. Only peace. Pompeii sleeps. And now so do you. Good night.